The G20 finance meeting hosted by India ended without a joint communique. Finance chiefs of the world's largest economies strongly condemned Moscow for its war on Ukraine. Only China and Russia declined to sign a joint statement. India, chair of the group of 20 economies, was reluctant to raise the issue of the war. However, Western nations insisted they could not back any outcome that did not include a condemnation. The lack of full consensus among G20 members meant that India resorted to issuing a chair's summary, a precedent that was set during the previous summit in Bali, Indonesia. Now, the chair's summary summed up the 2 days of talks and noted the disagreements. As per the chair's summary, most members strongly condemned the war in Ukraine. Members stressed that the war in Ukraine is causing immense human suffering and exacerbating existing fragilities in the global economy. It added that there were other views and different assessments of the situation and sanctions. Sanctions put in place by the United States, the European Union and other members aim to punish Russia for Ukraine invasion and starve it of revenue. The outcome was similar to that of a G20 summit in Bali last November. Back then, the host nation Indonesia also issued a final declaration acknowledging the differences. The G20, formed over 2 decades to tackle economic crises, has increasingly struggled to reach a consensus among members. Russia, a member of the G20 but not of the G7, refers to its actions in Ukraine as a special military operation. Moscow avoids using the terms invasion or war. India has kept a largely neutral stance, declining to blame Russia for the invasion. New Delhi backs a diplomatic solution and has boosted purchases of Russian oil. China and India were among the nations that abstained on Thursday when the UN voted to demand Moscow withdraw its troops from Ukraine and stop fighting. Besides the G7 nations, the G20 bloc also includes countries such as Australia, Brazil and Saudi Arabia. On the sidelines, the IMF held a meeting with the World Bank, China, India, Saudi Arabia and the G7 on restructuring debt for distressed economies. But there were disagreements among members, said the IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva. Further discussions are planned around the time of the IMF and World Bank spring meetings in April. Pressure has been building on China and other nations to take a large haircut in loans given to struggling developing nations. Remember, China is the world's largest bilateral creditor. The Chinese finance minister reiterated Beijing's position that the World Bank and other multilateral development banks should also participate in debt relief by taking haircuts. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.